G'day, Justin Hogg here from Right Source, talking not-for-profits. And what we're doing at the moment is we're going through a process of helping people who are looking to start off not-for-profit and give, I suppose, a series of videos where we can help talk you through the things you need to think about and give you a bit of insight into the setup process and getting your not-for-profit up and running and off the ground. So this video, to kick off, is talking about, well, what should you do to prepare before you take the plunge and start up a not-for-profit? What are the things you should start thinking about? So the first thing, and when I talk to anyone about thinking about starting up a not-for-profit, it always starts with a dream. They have this goal or the vision, but let's call it a dream. Like, they have an idea of how they can help people, how they can make something better, and that's what they want to do. That's what's driving them, and that's really special. And what you need to do to take that dream to start moving it forward is writing it down. And it sounds a little simple, but at the same time, and I've done this personally, when you go to do this, it is terrifying. So this is not a small step. So taking what your dream is and writing it down, and it doesn't need to be, structured or pretty or long pages. It just, it needs to be raw, it needs to be authentic. Half a page, maybe not even that to start with. Write down what your dream is. What do you want this organization that you're thinking about creating? What do you want it to achieve? And why are you starting it? How's it going to operate? Who's it going to help? Just those type of things. You don't have to get too verbose about it, but just write it down. In that process of writing it down, it will help solidify and crystallize in your mind whether this thing seems possible or not. And that's why it's terrifying, because sometimes when you write it down and you look at it, you go, well, that's just not going to work, or I can't do that. And that's scary because that's a no. But if you write it down and go, yeah, I can see how that works. In fact, when you write it down, other things start to fall in. That's when you can start building momentum. And that's why it's really important to write it down as soon as you can and have that there that you build on as you go, right? Add to it as you go. The second thing, it's sort of part of the writing it down, is get clear on your why. So why are you doing this? Are you doing it because you want a job? Are you doing it because you want to help people that have a disability? Are you doing it because a family member was affected by something and you want to get in and fix this? Is it because you want a group of people that are trying to make an industry better? Why are you doing this? Not what benefit is it going to have? Why are you there? What does it mean to you? What are you trying to get out of it? So your why is really important. The last thing that you need to have considered is the end. So what does it look like when this, and the end for you, not the organization, for you. When do you step off? And what does that look like? Is it in 3 years? Is it in 20 years? But at that point in the future, how do you want to leave? What do you want to be leaving, and how do you want to leave? So is it that when you leave, the organization dies, or you sell it to somebody? Or does it keep going after you've gone? Or maybe you've solved the problem and it doesn't need to go anymore. What does the end look like? So those are the three things you need in preparing for starting up a not-for-profit. It's the dream written down, the why, and the end. Those three things. Now, the next thing that people start getting worried about, and sometimes stop them getting these three things down, is I need to decide what structure I'm having. Now, I wanted to touch on this right at the start because there's two things here. One, you don't need to know it right from the start. And two, you can always change it. There is a lot more flexibility in your structure down the path, that it shouldn't be something that stops you and something that can evolve as your organization evolves. So, what do you need to think about in structure? Well, the first thing is, does it need to be a not-for-profit? Now, when we're talking about social enterprise could be a for-profit or a not-for-profit. So sometimes if you're in the social enterprise space, you don't need to set up a not-for-profit, and it's simply setting up a profit-focused entity, and away you go. So the next question in terms of structure is, should it be a not-for-profit? So we talk social enterprise. Should it be a not-for-profit? This really comes back to when you've written down your why, how it's going to end. If what you're looking to do at the end is sell the business, or you're looking essentially for it to be able to make money out of and pay dividends to you, that's not a not-for-profit. If it's that you want to run this just by yourself, it's just you and solely you, that's not a not-for-profit either, because not-for-profit, it's about a group and it's about a purpose. So very quickly, from writing down what you want it to be, it may very easily be able to say, well, actually this isn't a not-for-profit how you've got it at the moment. It could be a social enterprise, absolutely, but it could be set up as a for-profit, proprietary limited company, off you go. If it is a not-for-profit, there's still more options. Really, the two it comes down to is whether you set up incorporated association or a company limited by guarantee. They're the two cores. There are other permutations, but they're the two core and most common forms of structure that you'd have. Now, there's pros and cons for both. Incorporated association is a little cheaper to set up, but is a little bit less flexible. You need more members in it, so usually 5 or more depending on your state, and it is state-based, which means if you're wanting to have a national presence, that type of entity doesn't lend itself to that. It is based on the assumption that you're going to continue to operate that entity just within the state in which it's set up. Company limited by guarantee is more flexible, costs a little bit more to set up, and that's mostly in regard to the ASIC fee that you would have to pay to register as a company. It allows you to have less directors, so 3 directors is your minimum for a company limited by guarantee. And the directors don't have to be members. So there's some more flexibility in what you do in terms of who the members are of the organization versus the directors. The last point then, so you've got your profit focused, your incorporated association, your company limited by guarantee. As your 3 sort of choices you might have gone down, what if you chose the wrong one? Well, let's look at that. If you initially started your business as a profit focused, a proprietary limited company, and you've gone down that path and now you've decided, actually, I think I want this to be a not-for-profit. Well, that's completely possible to do. The process that would normally be followed is we'd set up a not-for-profit and you'd have both running side by side, which sometimes is also a good business model to have 2 entities that are working side by side, or effectively you then allow the for-profit or the profit-focused business to fold into the company limited by guarantee. It's quite easy to do. It takes a little bit of planning, but it's something that's completely achievable. So if you've gone down the wrong path and you want to go down that path, or you want to change paths, completely possible. If you set up an incorporated association and you decide, actually, now I want to be national, or I actually want some more flexibility and a company limited by guarantee is what I want, you can absolutely transition from one to the other. There's a pathway you can do it. There's a specific series of steps you can do, which actually essentially moves that entity into another entity, and you keep the continuity. And it's something that happens quite regularly in the not-for-profit space. The last one is if you ended up setting up a company limited by guarantee and you decide that's not the path you want, you probably want to start up a for-profit. It's basically the same as the first option we talked about. You set up your for-profit and you start moving stuff across. It's something that is quite easy to do. You plan it out. You might end up still, whether you keep both entities, or you might end up letting the company limited by guarantee fold or be sort of wound up, and that's completely achievable and able to be done. So I suppose that is a start for those who are looking to start a not-for-profit or thinking about it. What things do I need to start thinking about? There's a few things to start with. We've got another series of videos in terms following this that talk through some more of the specific aspects of once you have started your not-for-profit, what things you need to do from day one and initially to get that up and running the best way you can. Thanks for watching today. As I said, there's lots of other videos we've got on YouTube. Check them out. If you've got any questions, feel free to put a comment below. Happy to answer those. Otherwise, thanks for your time today. It's Justin Hogg from RightSource.